All right, it looks like we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Academic Ale House. I'm your host, Clayton. I'm joined, as always, by my friend, Caesar.
How's it going?
So, we did stream a couple weeks ago. For those of you who were late to the party, we did stream. I was very angry. And then YouTube decided to take us down because we said not nice things about the COVID response, about COVID.
Are we going to get taken down just for mentioning it right now?
No. We spoke about COVID and got our video taken down. That being said, we are not medical professionals. Any medical advice is not in regards to COVID is like completely our opinion, blah, blah, blah. Don't listen to us about COVID. If this stream gets taken down, it will be because I've just mentioned COVID, which would be utterly ridiculous or targeted. We'll pick one. Anyway, you'll notice the title of the stream is Tonight We Dine on Nostalgia, because Caesar sent me this article, and I've had a long trip today to basically read through it.
Oh, shit, you read the whole thing?
I read through a lot of it.
You poor soul.
This is... We didn't win Gamergate, so we're upset about it. The article.
How's it going? Worse than you?
Hello, worse than you. What's going on? But yes, this article reads very much like we're still upset about Gamergate. And Gamergate, and because conspiracy theories never involve just a singular act, right? Like, it's never just one thing with conspiracy theories. Everything is connected. So, like, all the hatred for The Last Jedi stems from Gamergate. Gamergate stems from radical... because they lost worse than you. Hello, Inquisitor Matthias. Matthias?
Oh, shit, man. How are you doing?
What's up?
Yeah, salve. Yeah, he must have saw my link in the Smudcast Discord.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Welcome, Inquisitor. You honor us with your presence. Hail the God Emperor. But anyway, worse than you, they lost Gamergate. Like, Milo Yiannopoulos, despite his more recent shenanigans, and you know what, Blair White touched that, I don't want to. Like, look, Milo had his time in the spotlight, he has gone away, and I'm okay with that. But he called it right, and we'll see a quote from him in the article. Gamers had it right. We realized that when the media, when the people in politics, when whoever else call you names, say you're evil, and you say nothing and ignore them, nothing bad happens. And so we did. And we did the same thing with the feminists and the social justice warriors. We ignored them. We called them out on their bullshit, and they lost. And they're still upset about it. But that being said, I do want to do a shorter stream this time. So this will probably be a stream in 2 parts. Because I don't know if you can tell by the change in audio quality, whether it's better or worse. But I am not currently at my usual location. I'm actually visiting my family right now. So I want to stream. I want to do real quick and get back to them. So this will probably be a stream in 2 parts, but this is also a lot to get through. Hello?
Hello.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure I was being heard.
I heard you at least.
All right. So, let's get to reading. Since December 2017, pop culture news has been overcrowded. Agreed, Inquisitor. Pop culture news has been overcrowded with the same narrative. Rian Johnson's Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi, has divided audiences.
Yeah.
Yes, it has. There's good reason for that. Despite a 90% approval rating from critics and a cinema score, we can't stop talking about how and an A cinema score. I don't know what cinema score is.
It sounds like a website.
Probably. And a 90% approval from critics doesn't mean anything. Critics are bought and paid for.
And some of them are just kind of pretentious retards.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can't trust critics. Even we are not to be trusted.
I mean, you can trust me at least. I'm the emperor.
Careful, that's heresy. There is an Inquisitor present.
Whatever. I don't even play Warhammer.
Neither do I. I just like the lore. Talking about how we can't stop talking about how The Last Jedi is a polarizing film that has allegedly alienated fans en masse and sent Disney multi-billion-dollar juggernaut in an unsatisfactory direction.
I mean, where's the lie, though?
Yeah, where is the lie? There's the fandom has basically divided in half. Hundreds of Star Wars toy sales are tanked. The only profitable thing in Star Wars recently is The Mandalorian. It's very expensive. I looked into it. But the only profitable thing has been The Mandalorian, and that's about it. Like, Solo was a bomb at the box office. The first bomb at the box office that Star Wars ever had. And then Rise of Skywalker underperformed at the box office as well. You can't deny that The Last Jedi changed something in Disney Star Wars. We even see she even contradicts her own point. Here, look. Creatives involved in the with Star Wars projects have even commented on the hate against the film. For example, Ron Howard, director of Solo, a Star Wars story, which is not good. It's just not a good film. Took to Twitter respond to comments blaming dislike of The Last Jedi on Solo's underwhelming box office performance shortly after the film's release in 2018. Yeah, which should say something about The Last Jedi. It's either something is wrong with this.
Still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just reading Worst in News comment. Ron, yes, correct. People didn't go see Solo because Star Wars, because The Last Jedi wasn't good.
Also, I just didn't really
got sick of Star Wars.
Yeah, also, I just didn't really care for it, just hearing the stuff that was coming from it.
Very true. And in the lead up to the release of the final film, in the Skywalker saga, please don't call it that, Star Wars Episode 9. I'm reading that right. That's 9. The Rise of Skywalker, director J.J. Abrams acknowledged the animosity towards the franchise's 8th installment by suggesting that fans didn't want to be told that what they love about Star Wars doesn't matter. That's odd. What an odd concept. I mean, think about it this way: telling your fans that their complaints might be legitimate. Like, yes, every fan has an opinion, and not every fan is going to be correct. But in some cases, but you still don't go out of your way to mock your audience.
Oh, I'm just scrolled down, just looking at all the people they have listed, all the interconnected people listed.
Oh yeah,
It's
remember
it's the
conspiracy
fucking
theory.
yeah, it's that fucking pipeline theory.
Yes,
That's what this is.
remember, this is a conspiracy theory. Like
Yeah.
I told you, tonight we dine on nostalgia. If you read the description, I basically described this article in a sentence. A biased scholar uses biased sources is to confirm her conclusion.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know. Has Jordan Peterson ever made a lecture shit talking The Last Jedi? The Last Jedi is a shitty ass movie. Don't go see it, buckos.
That's very true, Inquisitor. Or you are always right because you represent our. I can't speak tonight. You represent the God Emperor. Star Wars Episode 8, The Force Awakens Episode 7, The Force Awakens director, then went on to release a film that, according to Time magazine, feels as if Abrams read every critical tweet in Rian Johnson's mentions over the last 2 years and answered each one scene by scene. I mean, yeah, it kind of does. The Rise of Skywalker does address a lot of issues. I think because JJ was very upset with Ryan.
Yeah. Plus, it just not to mention just kind of put a lot of his mystery box ideas backed it up to a wall.
Yeah.
Can't really do much with the mystery behind who is Snoke and who is Rey's parents when you just waste them both away in the previous movie.
Remember, they're nobody.
Except they actually were somebody. Just jump through a few hoops in your brain.
However, even though The Rise of Skywalker addressed fan quote unquote concerns, the Skywalker saga ended it with a whimper. It obtained the lowest critic score of any Star Wars franchise film on record because it's not a very good film just to begin with. Because it has to basically explain it. It has to talk about its plot. Like, basically, the Rise of Skywalker should have come in the middle, and then we should have gotten The Last Jedi if we were to attempt to make sense of something. But regardless, it obtained the lowest critic score of any Star Wars franchise film on record at 51% and received a lukewarm reception from the general audience with a cinema score of B+. After its release, Disney and Lucasfilm seemingly turned away from the sequel trilogy to focus on new opportunities on Disney's recently launched streaming service, Disney+. And then they fucked that up, too.
Yeah. Did you see all the shows they announced? They at least announced 24 shows.
They did.
They
did announce a lot of shows.
Yeah, just maybe do 2 right now. Just do 2 new ones for now and see how well they do before you decide to do 24.
Yeah. Excuse me. To the majority of people who decide to spend 2 hours invested in the galaxy far, far away, the Star Wars sequel trilogy films are likely fun popcorn flicks that added little to the saga overall. In the end, the sequel trilogy is an ode to the past, a chance to recapture the energy of 1977 and reclaim the heroes of a time that the world is quickly passing by. No, I would regard them as utter and complete failures of the 3 of them. Like, The Force Awakens is probably the most tolerable, but The Rise of Skywalker has to basically play catch up because The Last Jedi just screws everything up. It doesn't treat itself, The Last Jedi doesn't treat itself like the middle of a trilogy. It treats itself as if it's the final movie.
I mean, my biggest complaint with The Last Jedi is that it just pretty much stomps on everything that The Force Awakens was setting up.
Exactly.
Like all, like as much as I didn't care for the unoriginal story of The Force Awakens, I at least liked the new characters, and I was interested to see where all these plot threads were going. But then The Last Jedi's like, nah, fuck that. It's like, what's that? Finn got his spine cut open. He's fine. Who are Rey's parents? Nobody. Who is Snoke? Who cares?
Who cares? He's dead now.
What was Luke doing on that island? He just wanted to die. Wait, then why do you have a map? Why do you have a map to him? What map? What are you talking about?
What map? There's no map. I'm Ryan Johnson. I didn't invent a map, so there's no map. By the way, look at these bombers. Also, animals. Also, animals matter more than people.
Especially child slaves.
We'll get there. We might get there, actually. Moreover, the failing of The Rise of Skywalker to provide a satisfying conclusion to the Skywalker saga, please don't call it that, for fans and casual viewers alike, will likely make the sequel trilogy the least consequential addition to the franchise. While there is value in nostalgia and honoring the past, the reality of this particular situation carries with it something much more sinister that is easy for most people to miss. Wow, I have to scroll up in our chat. That has to be the first time that's ever happened. It feels like Ryan didn't give a fuck and wanted this movie to fail. No, I don't think that's it. I don't think Ryan Johnson wanted his movie to fail. I don't think Ryan Johnson wanted Star Wars to fail. I think Ryan Johnson was put under Ryan Johnson really, as far as I'm aware, didn't at the time have a lot of directorial credits. At least nothing big enough that he would warrant the position he got. And he sort of ended up in that fusion of initial George Lucas, of like George Lucas, the prequel trilogy, and I need to make my own identity. I need to stamp my own identity on these films. I think he ended up somewhere in there. I don't think his intentions were malicious. I think post the making of the movie, his intentions were absolutely malicious. His attacks on the fans prove that. He has an ego the size of Mount Everest.
I don't know if he has an ego. I think maybe he's just insecure. Like, I'm sure he put a lot of effort into this movie. I'm sure he put a lot of effort into the movie, and only to have like millions of people around the world just despise it. I think he's insecure about it.
Like, that's the thing. Yes, exactly, Inquisitor. Ryan shouldn't have written the movie, or at least put it through several other drafts. I think he was just put in a very poor position where his unique vision took precedent. His unique vision and his political agenda basically took precedent over making the story. I don't think his intentions initially were malicious. If I was to be charitable to Ryan Johnson. Make no mistake, I wouldn't piss on the man if he was on fire, by the way. The Last Jedi forged an ambitious path forward in a time when governments around the world were progressing into fear and hatred, spurred on by the growth of growth of progressive politics and the rise in minority populations, Johnson took a beloved cornerstone of Western culture and turned it on its head, much like Star Wars creator George Lucas had done with the franchise's prequel trilogy.
Wait. Let me reread that.
I fail to see how The Last Jedi is ambitious in any way. Like, I really don't. I don't understand. Visually, it's stunning, but you would expect that. It's $1 billion film. Character writing wise, it doesn't do anything interesting. That best, you could argue it subverts fan expectations, but doesn't do anything with that subversion. If you want to truly have subversion of the characters, you have to challenge the ideas of those characters.
Okay, so what's? Oh, sorry. Go on.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, okay, so which governments around the world are regressing into fear and hatred? I mean, this is obviously throwing shade at the Trump administration, but what other countries are doing this?
I don't know. I assume the UK. Again, conspiracy, broad brush. We have to focus on the minutest details and paint them in and basically blow them up way out of proportion, so the picture is actually so distorted you can't make anything out.
Yeah, I hated The Last Jedi, so I guess I hate women and minorities.
Precisely.
Clayton, I hated The Last Jedi. I guess that means I hate you now.
Unfortunate.
Yes.
Anyway. Okay, Inquisitor, is that actually true, or did you just name a country? Regardless, what I was saying was The Last Jedi doesn't do anything ambitious with what it could do. It genuinely could, it does it for the briefest of moments, but only to the point where it's introduces a character Finn to the idea of being of moral gray areas, but it doesn't ever treat itself.
Really, it's true. Wait, Inquisitor, what did they say? So, what about New Zealand is true? The Prime Minister is actually expressing fear of minorities.
Anyway,
wouldn't expect that out of New Zealand. Always kind of see that as Australia's wimpy little brother.
I think that people from New Zealand would actually smack you if they heard that. Regardless, I as I was saying, The Last Jedi really isn't that ambitious. It flirts with the idea of being of challenging the sort of hero mindset and the philosophies of the Jedi and the Sith and how wealth and power had influence both in the First Order and the Resistance. It flirts with those ideas, but never decides to dive into them with it. All governments fearmonger. It's just it's just how aware are you of it. But yeah, the Last Jedi flirts with the idea of being ambitious, but really doesn't ever go anywhere with it. People play both sides in a war to profit off of it. Well, duh. The Jedi allowed evil. The Jedi, in their arrogance, allowed evil to rise. Yeah, and that doesn't.
I mean, they didn't allow him. They didn't know Palpatine was a Sith.
Yeah, exactly.
I think even Windu in Attack of the Clones, Windu told Yoda that they should consider telling the government that they're starting to lose their touch with the Force.
Yeah, I agree. The reason the Jedi failed to stop Palpatine and everyone else is because of their hubris and their arrogance. They believed the Sith extinct, and so they did, and so they were. Regardless, it's something of like I would hardly call The Last Jedi ambitious. Now, George Lucas in the prequel trilogy, that was ambitious. Because the man had to depict the war and still break down the character one of his principal characters fall from grace. He had to both be likable and sympathetic at the same time. And we have to be okay with him committing several not kosher acts.
Yeah. I mean,
that's a hard road to put yourself on.
Yeah. Yeah, having rewatched Attack of the Clones recently, they could have still had the scene where Anakin kills all the Sand People. Just don't have him actually tell Padme that he did it. Maybe tell he could tell his stepfather that he did that. Like, oh yeah, I avenged my mom's death by killing all those people. I don't know, something kind of like in Spider-Man 3.
It's weird that she stays with him after that. Then,
yeah,
like what he does, like he does that, and she's like,
yeah,
and then she's horrified, and
yeah, he just needs to keep it a secret. Just it kind of gloss over, like she just says like, what happened at the camp, and he's just like no, I don't want to talk about it.
Like
just to leave the implication that he slaughtered the entire tribe. Just kind of you get what I mean.
Yeah, and the whole like. I don't know what I was about to say. Well, I would call the prequels ambitious because not only are we trying to make Darth Vader sympathetic, but we're also essentially building on something that was only basically headcanon when the originals came out. So yeah, there's a lot of ambition in the prequels. I would not call The Last Jedi ambitious.
Yeah, I will say at the very least, the one thing the prequels really were excellent in doing was expanding the universe of Star Wars. It feels like a place that's been lived in. Same can't really be said about the sequel trilogy.
Yeah. In the film, Johnson questions the beliefs and principles of the saga's legendary heroes and lore. No, he doesn't. The journey each character is defined by a failure that could have been avoided if characters from different races, genders, and age groups simply communicated with one another. I fail to see how. In one scene, he sends iconography of the past up in flames, only to imply that the parts worth saving would be passed on to the next generation. No.
I mean,
I guess this is the Yoda scene, Yoda blowing up the tree scene, but that just makes Rey a Mary Sue. The next generation includes a woman whose strength and resourcefulness are attributed to her lived experiences, not a power from her lineage.
Her strength just kind of comes to her. I mean, sure, her bow staff skills are from her lived experience, but being able to use the Force and stand up to Kylo Ren and Snoke's bodyguards and know how to use the Jedi mind trick without never seeing it before. Yeah. Press X to doubt.
A resilient fighter played by British-Nigerian actor John Boyega, who had fought against all odds to free himself from an oppressive regime.
Yes.
No.
I like that. I like this writer's bringing up the fact that they're women and minorities. That's why. Yeah,
and
we hate this. We hate the trilogy. We hate this movie because we hate women and minorities. It can't just be that we just thought it was a badly written movie.
John Boyega isn't bad in the movies at all. And in fact, I'd say he plays himself very, very well. He plays very, very well when sat beside Poe, but not
And
Rey.
yeah, when the Force Awakens came out, yeah, I liked these new characters. I actually really I liked all of them, including Rey. I wish they would have done better things with them.
And then Oscar Isaac, at the beating heart of the film is a courageous mechanic, Rose Tico, played by Vietnamese American actress Kelly Marie Tran. Rose's ceaseless compassion and drive to dismantle inhuman powers around her culminate in the most critical line of the film. That, like,
the bitch fucking she fucking let all those animals out to destroy the place and endanger lives. She left the child slaves behind. She screwed Finn out of a heroic sacrifice, and also allowed
no. She did worse than that. She did worse than that. By stopping Finn, Rose essentially, without the intervention of Luke, doomed the Resistance. Like, think about it. Finn flies his speeder down the cannon. He gets his heroic we get a heroic sacrifice out of him. The cannon blows up. And the blast doors that are protecting the remaining of the Resistance hold.
Yeah, she fucking
she dooms the rest of the Resistance by doing this. And where does there's so much wrong with that scene when you actually start to break it down.
Yeah, she screwed up. She doomed the galaxy's chance for hope, or for the galaxy's chance for hope, all because she wanted his dick.
Exactly. These themes and characterizations make The Last Jedi a film that dares to move culture into a more diverse and hopeful future. And in response, the film has been faced with an organized campaign against it.
What do you mean, diverse future? Nothing in the movie ever implies diversity. I mean, yeah, I guess the First Order are human supremacists, but they never really tackled.
They never really outlined that. Like, I mean, what does the First Order believe?
Yeah, actually, as far as we know, as far as they knew, Snoke himself was an alien. He vaguely looks like a human.
You cut out there, but like, what does the First Order believe? Like, we know they don't like the Republic, but what do they believe in? Like, what is their philosophy? What drives them? Like, inherently, the Sith have a philosophy that drives them. And the Sith have a philosophy that drives them. It is to rule the galaxy and destroy the Jedi. But the First Order don't have that. They don't have that influence. Kylo Ren is an apprentice. When we first meet Kylo Ren, he's an apprentice. And Hux seems to have just equivalent say in matters of how the First Order is run. So I have to ask, what makes the First Order, like, what brings people to the First Order? People like Hux and many of the other older generals can't have been just have to have been drawn in by something. It has to have been worthwhile. And if they're old Empire generals, why aren't they using their old Empire general influence to create their own faction? Why is there no squabbling for power? Like, this is the problem with the entire sequel trilogy, is that nothing is thought out. It all exists as if we're starting from square one, as if The Force Awakens is the first Star Wars movie. But that's the problem. We know the Empire is evil in the first Star Wars movie, but we get more than that. We see them be begin to understand their sort of driving philosophy in The Empire Strikes Back. Hell, even in the first movie, with the Force and how it's treated and how these generals are taking over, how like the local government so taking up, like, exactly, Inquisitor. First Order, we capture kids and we have foods. Like, what else? Why aren't these old, like, why are there older people in, and how long has the First Order been around? Have they been since the end of the fall of the Empire? Like, these are questions the sequel trilogy fails to answer, and it suffers for it.
And just how they've been able to abduct children. How are they able to build Starkiller Base? Do all this without the Republic knowing?
And if the Republic do know, why aren't they doing anything about it?
Yeah. And I've thought of a way to not only fill in that plot hole, but also to tie it back into the original trilogy. Have it so the First Order was set up in Hutt space. Let's say the Hutts are now enemies of the Republic because of the death of Jabba. They know that Leia, Han, Luke, Chewie, and Lando are responsible. So now they're now enemies with the Republic. So so their entire area has become like a sanctuary for Imperial remnants. And the Hutts are also the ones that are providing them with child slaves as well as funding their weapons.
That would be a very good way to fill that plot hole. Shame nobody thought of it. All right. These themes and characterizations make The Last Jedi a film that dares to move culture into a more diverse and hopeful. Okay, hold on. I read that. Most publications discussing hate against The Last Jedi are quick to note that the backlash has manifested into racism, specifically against Tran and Boyega. Esquire has arguably gone the farthest in its critique against The Last Jedi hate.
I've never heard any of this. The worst, the closest thing to racism against Kelly Marie Tran is just that Wikipedia article, but that's clearly just a stupid joke.
Yeah, exactly. Arguably gone the farthest, attributing worst of the negativity to neckbeards, a belittling term for terminally online men who hold misogynistic views.
Wait, did you just unironically write neckbeard on here?
She did. It's in quotes, but she did.
Oh, okay. Okay, at least it's in quotes.
Mm-hmm. All right. However, it is not enough to call these people fans simply but pushing back against the Last Jedi themes of diversity or change, nor is it enough to label them trolls, crybabies, or often misused term incels. Excuse me.
I mean, we don't hate the diversity. Okay, I do remember hearing this back when I was a stupid normie drinking the Kool-Aid, that there were, like, before The Force Awakens came out, there was apparently outrage about the diversity of the casting. But I'm sure journalists have been taking that shit out of context. So I don't know what the actual complaints were.
The Republic disbanded the army. The hegemony of the galaxy disbanded the navy, and the You see, but like, I don't understand why they would make that choice. There's no, like, it's not like there aren't, pirates. It's like, I don't understand.
Hey, am I echoing on your end?
No.
Okay, just because when I look at my icon, I see a little light flashing whenever you're talking.
Hold on. I don't see.
Maybe just because I'm looking at it on YouTube. Never mind. YouTube's a few seconds behind us.
Makes sense. I also just turned my TV down, so. All right. We need to talk about the fact that almost 40% of negative YouTube videos mentioning The Last Jedi are from radical right-wing or alt-right accounts.
What qualifies, but what from this writer's perspective qualifies as right wing? Because I've kind of realized. I mean,
I'm sure we'll get to that.
There are people on Twitter who think Bernie Sanders is a centrist. Just saying, what is considered left leaning and right leaning seems to vary from individual to individual.
These accounts have also dedicated their channels to hate campaigns against Captain Marvel star Brie Larson, former SNL cast member Leslie Jones, and feminist YouTuber Anita Sarkeesian. Damn. Twice in one day. Technically 3 times, because I read this
I mean, they say stupid shit, and these YouTubers call them out on it.
Yeah, but I read this, and then Razorfish published a rant earlier. I think it was yesterday about the Snyder Cut of Justice League. And I was just like, oh. And he mentions Anita Sarkeesian, and I'm like, oh, well, 3 times in one day. I mean, I guess necromancy is a thing, but I'd rather not bring back this corpse. As for Leslie Jones, who cares? She's a crybaby.
Yeah, and for Brie Larson, I mean, yeah, she's a bitch. Probably the worst I've seen is that the Quartering has this running gag where he has like a tool shed full of Brie Larson related paraphernalia. But it's just a really dumb, creepy joke. That's about it.
Yeah, it's a good rant. I tend to prefer his political stuff rather than his pop culture stuff, but it's a decent rant.
What's the rant about?
Basically how a lot of people were super excited and like encouraged the Snyder Cut for the Justice League, thinking it would make the film better, but it was just a corporate cash grab.
I mean, I would argue it is better than the theatrical version. It does make it better. It does some of the characters are fleshed out. The main villain is fleshed out a lot more. Yeah, it is a better film. I would not die on a hill calling it good. I mean, if you can stomach Man of Steel,
better than what we got.
Like it. Yeah, it's a better film. It's pretty much around. If you can stomach Zack Snyder's superhero films, then yeah, you'd probably like it.
All right, so this is just blah blah blah. This is all just to get to this point, which is where she'll actually make her arguments. Now, remember, conspiracy theory. Never just trolls, reactionary white right-wing network behind the fandom to alt-right pipeline.
I mean,
Lord Bannon, the source of all evil, because, if it's not Trump, it's Steve Bannon.
Oh, we're down to the pipeline thing. Okay.
I skipped like 5 paragraphs because all she does is say, we need to talk about blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. So it's ironic because I think the very first YouTuber I saw to talk negatively about The Last Jedi was Geekdom 101. And no, as from what I can tell about him, he keeps his political views to himself. If I had to take a guess, I'd probably say he's a lefty, but he usually keeps that shit to himself. I don't think he's definitely not an alt-right person. I mean, he's like Cuban American, so no.
And then from Steve Bannon, Peter Brimlow, and I don't know who this is. So he may hold like radical right wing views, or well, he may hold radical left wing views. Milo and Ben Shapiro, the Jew, the active and practicing Jew. To Dave Rubin, the gay man.
Also a Jew.
Oh, he's also a Jew? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Paul Kersey, I don't know who that is. Yes, Richard Spencer is a neo-Nazi, but just because he's mildly associated with like all these people does not mean anything.
Is he even a neo-Nazi?
I would argue he is, but once you just examine neo-Nazism in any form, once you break down when you see their arguments, they make the same arguments as radical leftists, just with white people instead of black people.
I love that. I like that the journalist has a MAGA hat for Spencer.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice. And then to Mike Cernovich, the hosts the Alex Jones show on American News Network. Okay, so author 12 Rules, like not Jordan Peterson, author 12 Rules for Life, not a practicing analytical psychologist for much of his career, or not like one of the best psychologists in his field, like a practicing therapist as well, like but he's just an author of a self-help book. Like, how seriously, author, how dare you disrespect Jordan Peterson that way? Like, I would not want to be referred, if I had the academic pedigree that Peterson had, I would not want to be referred to as an author of 12 Rules for Life. Posobiec, I guess he's just... And then we have Alex Jones, who is just essentially a living, breathing meme. Paul Joseph Watson, who, I guess, Comic Artists Pro Secrets.
Ethan Van Sciver.
That's Ethan Van Sciver?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Ethan Van Sciver's just a cranky boomer. He takes that, like, I've seen he got into a debate with Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers over the Nintendo Switch, and EVS takes that, that you've seen all the pictures of soy boys smiling with their Switches. Like, EVS takes that shit too seriously. It's like, dude, God, it's a fucking joke. I own a Nintendo Switch. I'm not a soy.
Remember, Paul Joseph Watson leads to Tim, and eventually it leads to Tim Pool. Also, if we watch Geeks and Gamers in the quartering, we'll hit Comics Artist Pro. So we'll start. So basically, it starts at Tim Pool, heads for like Alex Jones and InfoWars. There's from Comic Artists Pro to Jordan Peterson, and like while Peterson has a YouTube presence, I've seen some of his like he just has his lectures on his channel, and while they're interesting to listen to, I don't see how these two would intersect anywhere. Like, I really don't. This to this makes a little bit of sense. Like Tim Pool to Alex Jones or Paul Joseph Watson, and that makes sense because, or these three hitting each other makes sense because they speak about relatively similar like realms of topic. Like Geeks and Gamers talks about comics, media. Comic Bros. Ethan Van Sciver talks about comics. The Quartering talks about comics, and media. Like, I don't see how this one connects to this one. I don't. I really don't. Regardless, remember, if you watch Geeks and Gamers, if you watch Tim Pool, well, the man who has basically come out on more than one occasion and said, I'm basically what a classical liberal or a Democrat. You will become an alt-right Nazi, and Steve Bannon will pull your strings.
And this is so fucking hypothetical. It's assuming that everybody who watches Tim Pool, Geeks and Gamers, and the Quartering are going to are listen to talking points from Richard Spencer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's stupid. Words can't describe how stupid this is.
Remember, it's a conspiracy theory.
Yes, because I've watched all three YouTubers at the bottom of the of this pipeline before. That must mean that
I've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of these people.
Yeah, I've seen probably about half of these guys in the past. Yeah, it's assuming that because I've watched Tim Pool, then that must mean that I have listened to and also agreed to the philosophy of Richard Spencer.
Yep. In 2018, revelations about the UK-based data firm Cambridge Analytica revealed that the firm had used data from 50 million Facebook profiles.
Wait, one more thing.
What?
Okay, so and all these people connected to Richard Spencer, like, do these people actually even agree with Richard Spencer's philosophy, or have they just simply talked to him?
It doesn't matter. They've interacted. They've mildly interacted with him.
I mean, I guess technically, and also I guess our channel is also now part of the pipeline because we've had both Cedar and Captain Dunn on here. They are connected to Smudcast. Smudboy has appeared on EFAP, and who else has appeared on EFAP? Sargon, and Sargon has talked to Richard Spencer. So through us, our viewers can learn about white supremacy.
Is Count Dankula actually a communist? Really?
He was. I think he was. Formerly, at least. He did have the hammer sickle tattoo, but I think he's covered up with Celtic symbols. I follow him on Twitter.
In 2018, basically revealed that the firm has used data from 50 million Facebook profiles to target users with personalized and politically driven advertisements. The ads were often racist in nature, fueling the spread of white supremacy and racist fear into the mainstream and successfully manipulating presidential elections in Africa, India, and the UK and the US. I would love to see the numbers on that one.
Okay, let's see. Let's see if these links, where these links take us.
All right, so let's see. Let's start with this. White supremacy. The Atlantic is the heel of American democracy. White supremacy is the Achilles heel of American democracy.
Just stupid ass ideology in general. Honestly, I think white supremacy isn't really that bad nowadays. It's pretty much been beaten into the ground.
This isn't me. This is the loading screen. I want to get a little bit further in before I have to go.
I have another one open. Let's see here. It says this is a Business Insider India. New details emerge about Steve Bannon's ties to Cambridge and Analytica as he seeks to distance himself from the firm.
Oh, it's loading in the graphics. All right, here we go. At the center of this controversy was Steve Bannon, former White House chief strategist for Donald Trump, former executive chairman of far-right media site Breitbart News, and former vice president of Cambridge Analytica. Okay. Oh, right. He's connected to Trump, therefore he is evil. Actually, correction. He's the puppet master behind Trump. I forgot. Remember, Steve Bannon is the ultimate evil. Bannon is credited by whistleblowers of the Cambridge Analytica scandal as an important figure who sought to destabilize governments in influential regions around the world and shift their politics towards populism and far-right extremism. Oh my gosh, it's not like Facebook has been selling my data to China for years. Or, Amazon definitely doesn't use targeted advertisements. That or YouTube doesn't use targeted advertisements either. God forbid we use them for political purposes. That would just be wrong. Christopher Wiley, a data scientist for Cambridge Analytica, states that Bannon was interested in the firm because Bannon follows this idea of the Breitbart doctrine, which is that if you want to change politics, you first have to change culture. He stated that Bannon wanted weapons to fight a culture war. Yeah, because Bannon probably saw what was coming. Bannon's culture war against progressive politics was also fought through his work as executive chairman of Breitbart News. Sorry. A radical conservative site commonly credited with bringing the alt-right ideas of white supremacy and anti-identity politics and anti-liberal journalism into the mainstream. I would say something against that, but that's not wrong. And I would love to see how the author defines all of these terms. Breitbart's success leverages a long timeline of conservative outrage media culture, and that was harnessed by Rush Limbaugh in the 1980s and perfected by Roger Allens and Fox News. The quick acceleration of technology and the creation of social media platforms in the mid to late 2000s created centralized communities that were easy for conservative outrage media to target and radicalize. Because Twitter's definitely not an example of left-wing radicalization. That's not what Twitter is at all. I'm just going to skip by the timeline of outrage media. All right, so let's do Gamergate, and that's probably going to be the last thing we do. We can get to everything else later. You still with me, Caesar?
Oh, I'm still here.
All right. In August of 2014, game developer Zoe Quinn's ex-boyfriend, Aaron Gianni, released a blog post discussing accusing Quinn of receiving positive reviews on her game Depression Quest. Fair enough. Look, Inquisitor. Becoming an OnlyFans site is how Twitter will survive into the next decade. It will be long forgotten by the time the 2030s roll around. Gioni? Whatever. It's Gianni from now on. It's Gianni. He was only mentioned a couple of times, so I'm only going to butcher his name like once more. But Twitter will be long forgotten by the time the 2030s roll around. Holy crap, we have 5 people watching us. Hello. Depression Quest from Nathan Grayson, a writer for Kotaku, because the two were in a relationship. Gianni accused Quinn of cheating on him and released personal information about her in the post to clear angry attack.
Hello, Cyrek. You just missed out on the pipeline. Missed out on a really shitty introduction that tries to tie people's backlash to hating women and minorities, and then the whole pipeline connecting YouTubers to alt-right figureheads.
Steve Bannon, Steve, if you watch our channel, you're an alt-right. You've entered the alt-right pipeline. If you subscribe to our friends Cedar Cheese and Lord Dunn, who have been on Smudcast, and Smudcast has been on EFAP, and EFAP has had Sargon. Therefore, everything is alt-right.
And Sargon has talked to Richard Spencer. I mean, it doesn't matter that Sargon disagrees with Richard Spencer's philosophy. He talked to him, therefore he's affiliated.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't need to know context.
Remember, conspiracy theory. That's all this is. It is one giant conspiracy theory. Just the other day, I fell into a YouTube hole. I was like it was like an internet history. And apparently people were super into John, do you remember the BBC Sherlock show?
I know of it. I think I've seen a little bit of the first episode.
People were super into shipping John with Sherlock. Fair enough. Whatever. And there's a pages long theory about how John Locke was Endgame. That's what this is, only with racism. All right, continuing on. A writer for Kotaku, because he was in a relation, Gianni accused Quinn of cheating on him and released personal information about her in the post. The clear angry attack of a disgruntled ex-boyfriend was quickly transformed into a frenzy against ethics in gaming journalism. Yeah. Because people found out that indie developers were sleeping with indie developers were sleeping with games journalists for good reviews on their games. And that's a problem. That's a problem. I know you can understand basic ethical concepts. If you're going to critique something, you shouldn't be involved with that something. Otherwise, your own biases get in the way. Anyway, the attacks against Quinn spread online. Gianni continued to post personal information about her whereabouts. At one point, he anonymously posted on 4chan reports of the hotels Quinn had stayed at. At one point, if it's anonymous, how do we know it was him?
Well, let's see where the Oh,
like,
and look,
hold on, go
I'll
ahead.
look at the link.
If it's anonymously posted on 4chan, do you not know what anonymously means, dear writer?
Let's see. No, there. Okay, I'm looking at the link right now. It looks like the entire thing is about Mike Cernovich.
But that doesn't prove that Gianni posted on, like, the. Hello, Benzo.
Y'all are start all showing up late. Well,
Yeah,
I'm
we've
glad
been
it looks
going, and we're about to end. Maybe.
Yeah, we'll try this. We'll continue next Saturday, assuming nothing comes up.
Yeah, normally we should be okay, but like anonymously reports of the hotels Quinn stayed at. He also gave legal complaint to Quinn. Quinn had filed against him to Roosh, an online personality described as a male supremacist extremist by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Yeah, that's the SPLC is definitely a source I would consider absolutely without bias and
I've
definitely
never
well
heard of them.
researched into their labeling of hate groups. It's not just people who disagree with their political views at all. The legal complaint was used to attack Quinn on his website, Return of Kings. The misogynistic attacks against Quinn spread to other influential women in the video game industry, including feminist YouTuber Anita Sarkeesian. Yes, precisely, Crank. Or Kryrek?
Cyrek, I think.
I'm going to butcher like half y'all's names if y'all keep going around here. Cyrek? Okay, Cyrek. Like, that's all you've missed, really, is just the beginnings of the conspiracy theory. She laid the groundwork in the first part. Now we're getting into like the meat of it. Like Gamergate is tied to The Last Jedi because The Last Jedi is tied because people who didn't like the politics in the very very obvious politics in The Last Jedi are tied to video games, and because geeks and gamers and all these other things are connected and they don't like The Last Jedi or Gamergate or leftist ideology, they're all tied together. It's all connected. Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out. Remember, tiny details blown completely out of proportion to such an extent that the image itself is distorted. Again, I'm not a necromancer. We're leaving the corpse where it is. The other women attacked included Brianna Wu. She was a grift. She's a grifter. Brianna Wu's a grifter. She jumped on the Gamergate train to get money. A game developer who posted a meme mocking the group of gamers who were threatening women's lives. After threats against her life, she was forced to go into hiding. That's not true.
Wait. She mocked people and said people came after her. Imagine my shock.
Yeah, I know, right? But that's not true. She was never forced to go into hiding. 4chan basically, she posted YouTube videos of like different locations and stuff, and 4chan basically broke it down and said, no, she's still in the. Yes, Inquisitor, the corpse of Anita Sarkeesian. We're leaving it where it lies. I don't have enough levels in Cleric to speak with dead today. This event developed. This event developed the current playbook of how to weaponize the internet and carry out mass threats, doxing, and abuse against women, people of color, and members of the LGBT community. The goal of these tactics is always to stop unwanted progress of diversity into culture that these groups have identified as their territory.
I mean, I didn't even know Gamergate was a thing until like a few years after it happened. But listening to a few YouTubers that apparently that are pro Gamergate, yeah, no, it's just bringing up the ethics in gaming journalism.
Generally
And
speaking, yes.
yeah, they don't seem to believe in any alt right shit. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure I can give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe there are some legitimately bigoted people that did go after them, but I would
Sure.
I'll play devil's advocate and say that they are a small minority. Or they're just trolls saying bigoted things for the sake of pissing them off.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I will make fun of autistic people for their autism, even though I myself am on the spectrum.
Agreed. All hail Shadiversary. Shadiversity. Paul Booth, a professor at DePaul University, explains that today angry internet mobs routinely use the threat of rape, bombings, assassinations as a way to lay claim to whatever it is they think they're losing to what they describe as political correctness, and along the way, they've adopted new approaches that combine old school write-in campaigns with internet terror efforts like publishing people's private information online with the intent of bringing chaos and fear into their lives. I feel like someone just took a projector and just pointed it at my eyes. Anyone else feel that way? Anyone else feel like that they should hold up a mirror to these people? Be like, yo, let's see. Milo Yiannopoulos had multiple events in 2016, either canceled or. That's fair, Sarah. That's fair. Let's just go through. Milo Yiannopoulos had multiple events, not only protested but violently. People were violently attacked at his events.
I mean, all I know about is the one that happened in, I think it was Berkeley in 2017.
Yeah,
I think there was like literal fire outside.
There were multiple events, and there were multiple. I think Jordan Peterson had like an honorary professorship for himself canceled.
Oh, speaking of Jordan Peterson, I remember there was a I forgot where it was at, but yeah, Jordan Peterson was having a I guess discussion with an audience, and outside there were just people banging on the door on the walls, on the windows.
Yeah. Sargon has had multiple speaking events canceled and run in on and things like that. There was that convention, that atheist convention a couple years ago, like way back in 2015, I think, that had to change locations on multiple, like change venues. Who's like, because people made threats and attempted to bomb it, things like that. Like, these are all very like yeah, this playbook exists, but it's not used by us, by and large, because we don't.
Who went after the atheist convention?
The gang of YouTube feminists. Remember Fisty Splinters and her gang?
No. Oh, why do they go after? I'm surprised they'd go after atheists. That sounds like more something that like the alt-right would actually do.
Well, the issue was they were having Sargon debate someone on stage.
Oh,
Like
because
they were
Sargon was
hosting
there.
Shoe on Head and Armored Skeptic, against Sargon. They were
Oh
going to have them
no.
speak.
Oh, because that's why, because certain individuals were there.
Yeah, exactly.
Shit, man.
Like it's this is a problem, but not for the side you think it is. I mean, like Bearing. Bearing is a very popular YouTuber. He got doxxed. He got doxxed. Sargon got doxxed. There's been many people, even just like CNN doxxed someone because they decided.
No, they
because
threatened to dox him.
yeah,
Yeah, they never
they
actually
threatened to
did.
dox him because he shared a meme. Because Donald Trump shared his meme. Like that's it. Vox describes these angry internet mobs as men's rights activists, white nationalists, and neo-reactionaries. I describe them as intersectional feminists, Black Lives Matter activists, and communists. That Gamergate united around indignation over the inroads that women and minorities had made into the video game culture previously dominated by young white men. Yes, that's very true. I think there's a couple of people, like, I just figured out how to do that, by the way. There's been a couple of events they've just canceled on him because they can't guarantee his safety. Like Milo's had that happen. I think Ben Shapiro's had it happen on multiple occasions.
Oh yeah, I mean, I know things can get heated up with Ben Shapiro.
Like, yeah. To be fair, Cyric, his run for office was essentially just to troll. I'm like 90% certain he didn't actually intend to do anything with it. Not that he could, given how the European Parliament is set up. But, might as well take a whack at it. Vox describes the angry internet mobs. Like, that's the thing. These people, like, that's the thing about. This is why they lost Gamergate. This is why these people lost Gamergate. They don't understand gamers at all. It is purely, like, gaming is a purely meritocratic system. And while, yes, we have allowed EA to exist, it is very much mocked by many people. Like, we're not perfect. We've made mistakes. But a game will succeed or fail on its own merits, not because of who developed it. One of the best examples of this rise of male supremacist ideology in the gaming space during Gamergate was during Gamergate, led by Mike Cernovich, a First Amendment lawyer who became associated with the event after he offered legal services to Gianni. Cernovich has a history of anti-woman and anti-trans beliefs. Okay, so what? That's
Elaborates.
What?
That elaborates on said beliefs.
I'm sure she will. In his blog, Crime and Federalism, in 2010, that it is now beyond debate that the culture has shifted. It is, or soon will be, a women's world. Women earn 3 college degrees for every 2 that men earn. Women are overrepresented in managerial capacities. Women have taken over. That is absolutely true. There is no lie there. And that's not anti-woman. Indeed. Inquisitor Matthias. I think the quartering got doxed too, yeah. He frequently wrote how to avoid false rape claims that women exist for man's pleasure. Citation.
And yeah, false rape claims exist.
Yes, false rape claims exist. And all you have to do is never be alone with another woman. With a woman. That's it. That's all you have to do. Just don't be alone with a woman. Don't put yourself in that situation. If you are a single man, college aged or otherwise, or if you have basically something to lose, never be in the same room alone with a woman.
Oh shit, Clayton, that's awfully misogynistic of you.
The horror. I wish it wasn't so, but everybody laughed at Mike Pence because everybody was mocking Mike Pence because as he wouldn't have dinner alone with another woman and without his wife present. But he's right.
Well, at least you get to dodge that bullet.
I really don't, though.
Dude, you're gay. All you have to do is just tell people that you're gay, and yeah, they're more likely to take your side.
The SPLC documented many examples of this, including a tweet where Cernovich states, "After abusing a girl, I always immediately send a text and save her reply." Context. I would need more context than a citation for that one.
I'll be right back. I need to refill my drink.
Gotcha. Using the following he built up through Gamergate, Cernovich published Guerrilla Mindset, which propelled male supremacist ideas into the mainstream by detailing how men should embrace their guerrilla nature to find dominance and power. Okay, so he made a self-help book. The horror. It's not like there's 500 other similar there's definitely not 500 other books that have the same sort of self-help bullshit. I would argue even Jordan Peterson's is probably a little bit self-helpy. But I've never read it, so, Plus, the man's got, 30 years, 40 years, I think, of psychology behind him. He probably knows what he's talking about. I would doubt Cernovich has anything like that, so it's probably just you are awesome, blah, 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 blah. Cernovich went on to push the Pizzagate conspiracy, a conspiracy created and led up to in the lead up to Trump's 2016 election. As president of the United States, that Democrats were operating a child sex ring in a DC pizzeria called Comet Ping Pong. The conspiracy developed into a domestic terror threat. QAnon. Only if you believe the mainstream media lies. Other than that, QAnon's basically just a bunch of random. It's basically a bunch of randoms on the internet that, QAnon is this person. QAnon is this person just for Trump conspiracies. A conspiracy theory which alleges that Satan-worshipping pedophiles hold high positions of power within the government and threatened former President Donald Trump.
I mean, the pedophile part's partly true.
The pedophile part's probably true. Satan-worshipping, who knows?
At least with Epstein and anybody that probably knew.
Yeah, let's be real here. Epstein didn't acquire all the wealth he did without knowing a few political people. Cernovich was not the only alt-right associated leader to rise in power during Gamergate, Milo Yiannopoulos, an infamous provocateur known for shameless misogyny, anti-Semitism, and racism, married a black man.
Wait. Milo's half Jewish, though.
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Like, he married a black man. Like, his husband, I believe, at present is black. Was given the green light by Bannon as an editor for Breitbart to use the anti-feminist sentiment growing within gaming spaces to increase traffic for Breitbart's far-right agenda. Sorry, I'm yawning. Breitbart covered Gamergate extensively, increasing the size of the site's audience that would soon push white supremacy into the mainstream and be instrumental in the election of Donald Trump.
Yes. Okay. Yes, because the average Trump voter knows what the fuck Gamergate is.
Yes.
Like, did the writer? Most people do not make the internet their life. What the fuck is wrong with you?
In 2015 article applauds Gamergate as the heroes fighting valiantly against the authoritarian left. Yiannopoulos writes, gamers have been there and back again. What Bakari calls the cultural libertarian revolt against the authoritarian left is now underway. I believe Gamergate bears more responsibility for that tectonic shift than any other event in the past few decades. To put it another way, even the smallest people can change the course of the future. Gamers have done something no one else could. They've done it fearlessly and brilliantly, even in the face of bomb threats provoked by their enemies. Okay, so that Washington, D.C. bomb threat turned out to be pretty awesome for some of us. They have provided proof that if you just ignore the scary bad guys with the big media platforms who are calling you names, nothing bad happens. Where is the lie?
Oh shit!
Yes, I've seen that, Cyric. I don't want to touch it. I'm not going to touch it. Milo had his time, and he is now away. He is now away. And look, if that's how he chooses to live his life, that is how he feels he will live his best life.
How effective is conversion therapy anyway?
It
honestly just sounds like you just gotta lie to yourself a lot until you finally believe it. Okay.
Yeah, like, I don't want to touch this. Look, Blair White did a video on this today. Go watch her. Go watch her, because she talked about it. Arguably, nothing bad did happen. Mainstream coverage around this event varied from critical discussion around misogyny and culture wars on MSNBC to a dismissive interview with Brianna Wu by CNN. Ultimately, threats on women's lives were given a slap on the wrist, and Gamergate faded from public attention. Yeah. You know, if the media senses a victory, they tend not to let something fade away. Like, if the media is going to win on something, they'll never let you forget it. So, the fact that they just dropped it tells me that they probably that we won. And you're still upset about it, which is why you won't let anyone else forget about it. It should also be noted that during the same year, a chlorine bombing attack at Midwest Fur Fest linked to Nazi radicalization in the furry community put 19 people in the hospital. When the story
Furries are
broke,
fucking weird. Who cares? What does this have to do with anything? Furries are weirdos.
the coverage of the event was met with laughter instead of addressing the seriousness of a fascist terrorist event on domestic soil.
Yeah, it's funny because it's a bunch of people in cartoon animal costumes running around in terror. Sorry, but that does kind of appeal to my sadistic sense of humor.
I agree, but still, though, like,
I don't condone it at all. But
what? I'm curious what link they used to connect the Nazi radicalization in the furry community to, this bombing. Regardless, it's irrelevant.
Furries are crazy. Who cares? This has nothing to do with anything.
Indeed, alt-right radicalization within fandom spaces is typically not discussed as a major threat to society. Whether it's be small, zealous communities of gamers, furries, or science fiction writers, yet this extremist radicalization is an important variable in explaining how the United States in particular experienced an attack on democracy in early 2021.
Yes, Gamergate is responsible for the people breaking into the Capitol. Yes. Of course, I don't. Was it even a break-in? I've heard some people say that they were just let in.
Oh, well, interesting.
What?
Apparently, the police looked into it and found nothing.
Nothing in what?
In the blah 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 blah. That stupid furry bombing.
Okay. So you mean that didn't happen?
No, it did. I'm sure it did, but
just nothing connected to neo-Nazis.
Exactly. And Inquisitor, our dear Inquisitor, is very accurate. Maybe, just maybe, it isn't a problem. But remember, everyone in the audience, conspiracy theory. Everything is connected. An attack on democracy in early 2021. You mean the people that stormed that were pretty much invited into the Capitol as a photo op? This is particularly because society still looks at people in fandom communities as inconsequential nerds. This is also because actions of white men are protected. Boys will be boys, as we have always said.
Is this supposed to be a reference to that stupid Gillette commercial?
No, I don't think so. I think that's an actual thing that she thinks people say. Like, I've only ever heard "boys will be boys" trotted out as some sort of defense of random stuff, like as some sort of defense of an ideology when you criticize feminism. But the issue is that doesn't address the criticism. Even now, after a racist, tyrannical leader has risen to power in the White House, and the United States has drifted towards fascism at an alarming rate, with malicious anti-immigration policies,
this
racist
really
rise led by self-proclaimed neo-Nazis. These fan communities who contribute to far-right extremism are still regarded as trolls or man babies stewing in their mother's basement.
Wow, this really has no biases in it written in it whatsoever. This is a very, very nuanced take. Good God,
the lack of attention given to these groups gave Steve Bannon the perfect opportunity to push the limits of racism, misogyny, and hate, long held in America's culture without most people noticing. And in October 2015, as the anti-feminism built up and Gamergate raged on, in the pages of Breitbart, the right wing organized. His attack on progressive culture was about to enter a new battlefield.
Oh, hey, we finally finished the Gamergate section.
We're not even a quarter of the way down the article, and there's supposed to be a second part to this. It's supposed to come out, I think, tomorrow.
Really, I didn't know there was a second part.
There's going to be a second part to this. We will have this is probably going to end up being like a 4-part thing. Let's see, part 2 coming March 25th.
Hey, I'm fine with it.
This is probably going to end up being like a 4-part. No. It has a culture when they think it has a culture.
Well, audience, stay tuned.
Cyrus, it has culture when they need it to have culture. It doesn't have culture when they need it to not have culture. Because they're going to argue, because if they're arguing for against cultural appropriation, America can't have any culture. Because it means that America has to appropriate each other, has to steal from other cultures. But America does have culture when they're talking about racism, because America is a racist culture. Oh. Well, look, worse than you. You can read the article, and then you technically have 2 excuses to get smashed on your 21st birthday.
Well, that's a great time to start getting wasted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll continue this next week. Because, good Lord. And next week I'll have more time because I will be back in my home.
Yeah. Stay tuned for that. So I guess that wraps up tonight's episode.
Provided this thing doesn't get down, we did mention the disease at the very, very beginning.
The disease that made us lose our video from last time.
I'm going to see if I can get that stream down, or download that stream and then upload it to our BitChute channel.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
We've got a BitChute.
Yes, we do.
Do we have what's our audience like over there?
It's nothing. It's basically been inactive because I have it set up to simultaneously upload from YouTube, but I don't think it works on streams. So I basically have to go in and do the backlog.
All right. So I guess any final words?
Nope. I will see you all next week.
Yeah. Like, comment, all that shit. Subscribe. Maybe join our Discord. We need to dust that shit a little bit.
But yes,
Still over there?
Yeah.
Okay, just went quiet.
Yeah. Hopefully, if BitChute allows streaming soon, if BitChute's working on allowing streaming, we might just start streaming exclusively over there, because the day of YouTube's inevitable removal of everything they don't agree that isn't basically kid friendly is coming. And it's coming sooner, I think, than anybody's going to expect. So,
well, better not. I'm still working on my first YouTube video.
We're over
there. Well, I'm still working on my first YouTube video, so better not. Mine's a little too normie centric for BitChute.
Fair enough. There's plenty of other sites you could get an audience on: Rumble, Dailymotion. Regardless, we will see you all next week.
Yeah, see you guys.
Thank you actually all for thank you all for watching. Welcome, Cyric and Inquisitor. And I believe
There was a third guy. Lenny H3.
Yes.
And of course, worse than you.
Yeah. But worse than use a regular. Inquisitor and Cyric are new.
Yeah.
So welcome, guys. I hope you all stick around and check us out. We do try and do this on a regular.
And we talk about other things besides Star Wars, even though that always seems to be the thing we frequently talk about the most.
Well, I kind of want to have Cedar on one day, and it might just be me and her because you haven't played the Dragon Age series, and I want to talk about how Anders did nothing wrong.
Okay, fine.
I'll have to talk to her about that.
Kick me out and replace me with a younger, prettier co-host. Fine.
You're still pretty.
Why, thank you.
All right.
All right. Thank you all. Are you trying to imply that I'm old? All right.
Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed.
Take care.
You all have a good night.
Take care, guys.